To understand why you're getting poor pigment retention, you first need to ask the right questions. And it has nothing to do with your pressure. It has more to do with your microblading technique. My name is Kristi and I'm the owner of Boss Brows LA. I've been in the beauty industry for 11 years now, specializing in microblading and microblading training. This channel is all about sharing my tips and tricks with other microblading artists so that you can step up your brow game. If this sounds like something for you, make sure to hit that subscribe button because I come out videos every other Tuesday. So in this video, we're gonna talk about microblading technique. And now I hear this question all the time about newbies struggling with their retention. And I think the common misconception has a lot to do with your pressure. I find that a lot of newbies are using way too much pressure, which is in turn going to potentially scar your client. You're gonna end up with really blurred, gray, ashy, healed strokes. And if you're not doing proper technique, you may not get any good retention at all. So I'm gonna show you 3 things to think about every time you make a microblading stroke. So the first thing you wanna think about is your stretch. You want a 3-point stretch when you're microblading. So you wanna hold the skin in the direction that you're microblading. When I'm doing these head strokes, I'm moving from the base of the brow up. So these 2 fingers are holding the skin taut in the direction that I'm pulling. So these 2 fingers are holding the skin taut in the direction that I'm pulling. This finger is just applying that 3-point stretch, okay? Do you see how concentrated my stretch is? If you were to try to move her skin, it wouldn't go anywhere. So instead of really pulling this way, I kind of push into their skin and then pull out. That way it saves me from going into her eye. So I am just getting my pinky as close to that brow mapping without messing it up. I'm gonna go ahead and make my first stroke. So we're stretching in the direction that we're blading. We have a little bit of pigment on our blade, not too much. Now, if you notice, my tool is at a 90-degree angle, meaning my pins are at a 90-degree angle. Now, I'm just scratching the skin. I don't like to use the word cut because then you think of pressure. So instead of pressure, you're just scratching the skin. I think I heard someone say the other day that they're flirting with the skin. It really should just be a light pressure. Your stretch is the #1 thing, and your angle is #2. I mean, your speed is important, but the next thing is finding the flattest part of the bone to work on. So you may have to move to find where the flattest part of her brow bone is in order to get the flattest surface. That entire stroke, my pins are hitting the skin at 90 degrees. When I'm trying to create this curved stroke, I'm maintaining that 90-degree angle. And the way I'm doing that is by using my thumb and my finger to, I like to call it like a thumb roll, but to curve my tool. So that way my hand isn't dipping one way or the other. So I'm holding in the direction that I'm blading. I'm planning on where I'm gonna go. It's just a light scratch. Let the blade do the cutting for you. All you have to do is guide where the tool needs to go. So we're all taught to listen for that Velcro sound, right? So I don't know if you can hear it or not, but you'll hear a Velcro sound. And yes, that is true, that it's good to listen to that Velcro sound. But the thing is, depending on the client, like if they have very thin skin, you're not gonna hear that Velcro sound as much as someone who has like normal to thick skin. The other thing we're taught is to look for pinpoint bleeding. But all of that is so subject to the client's skin type. So if someone has really thin skin, they're gonna bleed on contact, right? So it's like those things are gonna vary depending on the client. So instead of thinking about how deep I should go, really focus on your technique because you can go back over your strokes if they need to be a little deeper. So you can see when you get to the upper arch, the upper and lower arch are probably the hardest places to work on, and it's because that's right where the bone kind of like the skin wraps around the bone. So the key is to find the flattest part of the bone. So you may need to play around with the skin, moving it around to figure out where is going to be the flattest part. Now when I get to the tail, my stretch is a little more concentrated again. So where I was like this, I am now a little more concentrated like this because I'm only working on this part of the eyebrow, the tail. How are you doing, Brittany?
Good.
Does it hurt?
Not at all.
Okay. So your client shouldn't be in pain. After you take that numbing cream off, like the client should not be in pain. If they are telling you it's hurting a lot, you're not stretching the skin tight enough. You're probably putting way too much pressure, meaning you're pushing into the skin when really that blade is going to do the cutting for you. Be careful when you're pushing your strokes that your wrist follows your hand. So because we're working on, it's like a curved surface, I want my wrist to come up with that. I'm thumb rolling right here, nice and slow. So it's just an even 1 o'clock curve. A lot of double lines are created because instead of applying that thumb roll to get your blade to curve, you drop your wrist.
So sorry.
It's
Just
okay.
smoked her.
So again, I'm gonna move my stretch. Now I am holding on the brow mapping, but I'm pushing into the skin. I'm not like sliding my fingers on her skin. So as long as my brow mapping is on there dense, it should be okay.